एक डगर है FM
शामो सहर हम सफर है FM गोल्ड
राहों में रह गुजर है FM गोल्ड आकाशवाणी FM गोल्ड आकाशवाणी FM गोल्ड आकाशवाणी FM गोल्ड FM
This is Akashvani Delhi. We now bring you an interview with Dr. Sajjan Yadav, author of the recently released book Scaling Mount UPSC. In conversation with him is Manoj Mindkar.
Hello and a warm welcome. I'm Manoj Mindkar and it gives me immense pleasure to welcome all of you to a masterclass today. And guiding us through this masterclass is a book titled Scaling Mount Everest. Oops, I beg your pardon. It's Scaling Mount UPSC. And the author of the book, Dr. Sajjan Yadav, is present with us here. It's a privilege and a pleasure to welcome you to our studios.
Thank you so much, Manojji.
Tell me something before I start opening the book.
Right.
I made a mistake in the beginning.
Yeah.
Was I way off the mark when I mistook UPSC for Everest?
Not at all. I think you were quite right because scaling Mount UPSC has many similarities with scaling Mount Everest. That's why it has been named like that also. Because what do you need for scaling Mount UPSC? Similar qualities you need for scaling Mount Everest. Like first you should dream of scaling Mount Everest. So people dream that they will be on one day at the top of Mount Everest. Similarly, you need a dream to scale Mount UPSC that one day I am going to conquer this mountain. Second, in terms of toughness, how many people dream of scaling Mount Everest or even reaching the base camp? There are lakhs and lakhs of people. Similarly, Mount UPSC, at least 10 lakh people fill up the form. Finally, come to 160 or 180, that varies year to year, but yeah. Third is kind of hard work which is needed, kind of discipline which is required, kind of sincerity with and honesty with yourself which you need to scale these both the mountains, and kind of pleasure and happiness you get after reaching the peak. So, they are very similar in both the cases. One is requires physical endurance, Mount UPSC requires mental endurance more than physical. But the qualities required in a person, that kind of determination, perseverance, sincerity, honesty, hard work, planning, strategy, they are very, very similar for both in that sense in terms of their rigor, in terms of their integrity, in terms of their achievement.
I'm eager to have a close look at your book. The first thing that strikes me is the front cover, an inspiration to countless aspirants who dream of serving the nation. Now, the one who has written this commendation is none other than Amitabh Kant, India's G20 Sherpa. If I reverse the book, this is for the benefit of the audience and the viewers. Scaling Mount UPSC portrays inspiring stories of IAS officers who conquered the world's most challenging competitive exam through their dogged pursuit despite multiple odds against them. From a visually challenged girl in Sikkim and a government clerk from Kerala to a boy from a remote Kashmiri village and an IIT graduate from Rajasthan. Varied backgrounds. The book captures 7 unique stories of highly determined young men and women who scaled the formidable Mount UPSC. This book also summarizes the strategies and success mantras that guided these extraordinary individuals to triumph, offering invaluable insights for civil service aspirants. It is a testament to grit, dedication, and the power of dreams. Whether it is the civil services or any ambitious goal, these tales of resilience and perseverance will inspire and empower readers to chase their dreams. Now, our audience and our viewers would be really interested to know, and this particular premises has remote connection with it. Do you know who the inspiration behind this book has been? It has been Manoj Kumar Sharma, IPS, who inspired you. And to tell you interestingly, part of that film was shot here. Our building masqueraded as UPSC
UPSC
headquarters.
building.
Coming to the book and the stories now, these are true motivational stories about grit, determination, and is there something more than an iron will? Can we call it a will of titanium or something? This book has stories of 7 youngsters: Minnu PM, Satyam Gandhi,
Right.
Bharat Singh, Anjali Sharma, Wasim Ahmed Bhatt, Shruti Sharma, Lavish Oldia. Now, when I was reading Anjali Sharma's story, it was more touching because for somebody who is visually impaired, I mean, imagine the colossal challenges that she has to
Yes.
overcome. We'd like to, but let me interrupt myself here. Before I start scaling Mount UPSC, I would want you to make a short reference to your earlier book. That too has been a bestseller. It was translated into Spanish and 16 Indian languages. It was, if I remember correctly, India's vaccine growth story from cowpox to vaccine
Maitri. Yeah,
So,
correct.
tell us something about
So
it.
that's a totally different book because I got inspired to write that book during the COVID era. But it is not only about COVID, it is about the history of vaccines and how different vaccines were developed, how the scientists made hard work and sacrifices to develop them, and what India has done, because India is the leader in vaccine production in the world. 62% of all the vaccines which are produced in the world are produced in India. So when I read the literature and when I went through, did my research, I found that India was way ahead in vaccination than what is claimed by the Western world. The entire world says or knows that vaccine was discovered by Edward Jenner. So we give credit to him. But the fact is that the vaccination or vaccines were discovered in India about 300 BC. That is about 2000, more than 2000 years before Jenner discovered vaccines. And we have our own system of variolation, which is called now. And we used to have tikadars who used to vaccinate people against smallpox, which was a very dreaded disease that time, much more dreaded than COVID-19. The mortality was very high, morbidity was extremely high, people used to get disfigured and they used to lose their eyesight. That time our tikadas used to collect the scabs or pus from the persons who were suffering from smallpox, used to dry it for a year, make a powder, and so by that way they were attenuating or weakening the virus. So that weakened virus was injected in the next year into the arms of people to protect them from smallpox. So that is the beginning only, but thereafter also India has done a lot and we have saved lakhs and lakhs of lives across the world during COVID through our vaccine diplomacy or vaccine maitri. So that book captures all these stories in an interesting way.
So while you were writing that book, I presume you had to travel a bit to places where vaccines are made, or even places connected with Indian knowledge systems, since you references or reading.
Yeah, it is basically based on research, based on both the literature research as well as detailed interview of how we handled COVID, how at the ground level our workers handled COVID, or the officers in the ministry, how they made the strategy, and then how we made a plan to vaccinate crores of people per day.
Dr. Sajjan Yadav, allow me to ask a slight sensitive question. I mean, for a bureaucrat, I mean, taking out time with the boss's phone call and certain files, certain parliament questions, certain court cases, and then you want to steal time to complete chapter 1. I mean, how does, you can't possibly take leave and go to Chakrata or Kasauli and say to office, I'll be back after 7 days or so.
Yes. So you need to have passion. If you have passion, then you steal time from, even if you have a very busy schedule. But of course, the kind of environment which I got, especially in the Ministry of Finance, with Dr. T.V. Somnathan, who was my secretary for 4.5 years. So we were all very spirited team and we very highly efficient team. So we used to find time for all these things.
I'm feeling slightly cold now because I think I'm approaching base camp. Should we begin with Minnu PM? Just of what she underwent and how this happened in a nutshell.
Minu's story is really very inspiring also, very touching also. So, this girl, she lost her father, who was a constable in Kerala police, when she was in class 12th. The family was really in a very dark phase, and they were at the receiving end of taunts from people, and as a result of that, she was married off very early. So, that she herself wanted to go away from that house to have some peace. So, she agreed for the marriage and she was married off. Then she completed her studies also. She did not sit idle, she completed her college, then post graduation, and then based on the rule in the government, the rule is that you get compassionate appointment if the parent dies when he or she is still in service. So, on compassionate basis, she was appointed clerk in Kerala police, and she worked as clerk in Kerala police, taking care of her child, taking care of her in-laws and also her husband. And then after 3-4 years of service, then some IPS officer 1 or 2 gave her good nice compliments about her notes and the analysis she used to do on files, and they encouraged her, you have potential, why don't you try, and that inner desire was there inside her. She herself used to feel that she is not cut out for clerk's job, but she could not muster that kind of courage, confidence to appear write civil services exam. But these compliments which she got, they encouraged her. So, she talked to her husband, I have narrated that story, that incident over a cup of tea, and then they discussed it a lot, then convinced her in-laws, decided to give it a shot.
But somebody in office as well was very cooperative and
the IPS officer whom she was reporting to. And thereafter also it was not easy, because there was a gap in her studies, there was a gap of 4 years and she had to catch up, and there was total lack of confidence, because she was thinking that the youngsters, they are more brilliant, more up to date with the knowledge, and how would she be able to compete with this young crowd. So, but still she joined coaching, she had to even sell her jewelry to pay for the coaching fee, and then after failing for 2-3 times. So, she even was successful in her second attempt to reach the interview stage, but third and fourth attempt she failed in the prelims. But still she did not give up. Her husband was a big support, Joshi, and he also encouraged her constantly. And finally, in the 5th attempt, she could manage to clear the exam, scale the Mount UPSC, get a good rank to get her into IAS. Now, she is sub-divisional magistrate in Maharashtra.
great, great. Hats off to her. By the time I finished chapter number 1, I was so hooked on that, I mean, people in my office know that I didn't work properly that day. I chose to jump to chapter number 2.
Right.
So, let's touch upon Satyam Gandhi and his struggles.
Yeah, Satyam Gandhi, see, my idea of selection Satyam Gandhi was that after reading Minu's story, people shouldn't start thinking that it takes years to scale Mount UPSC, because she took 5 years, but not everyone takes 5 years. So, I thought of Satyam Gandhi, who cleared the exam in the very first attempt immediately after college. That is when he just turned 21 and became eligible to join the service, he was selected.
That's a nice juxtaposition, 5 years.
Yeah, from 5 years. And second, so this boy is also from a very humble background, and he hails from Samastipur district of Bihar. And he, first of all, he had a failure in that sense that he cleared the written of NDA, National Defence Academy. He wanted to become that IFS, for Indian Air Force officer initially. So, he appeared for NDA, cleared the written, cleared the interview or SSB which we call, and he was very happy to go back and announce to his family that yes, now I will be an Air Force pilot. But during the medical examination, even he was not aware that he was color blind. So, he was rejected. So, that was a very big shock, but he did not give up. Then he decided that I will become IAS officer, I will write civil services exam. But in that also what important decision he made was, because he knew that his father was taking loan from the local money lender at 24% interest rate, 36% interest rate, Buttukeshwar Dutt, I have written the name also. So, he realized that he has no time to waste, and so he decided to start his preparations in the final year of the college itself. So, he worked really hard with strategy, with proper planning. And in the first attempt itself, he got 10th rank.
And where is he now?
He is also in Maharashtra by coincidence. He is also SDM. They are same batch, that Satyam Gandhi and Minnu PM. They are 2021 batch IAS officers. They are in their first posting as sub-divisional magistrates.
Dr. Sajjan Yadav, Bharat Singh's story, when it begins, it has a dramatic twist.
Yes.
When this is the one, correct? They are evicted
From a servant's
out-
quarter
outhouse,
of
yeah,
a bungalow.
and he later kind of
Now he lives in a bungalow.
Yeah.
That was her mother's dream. When they
Tell
were
us more
thrown
about
out of the bungalow because the officer got transferred out who was occupying the bungalow. Bungalow was vacant. So the rules are that you can't occupy the servant's quarter if the bungalow is vacant. So they were kind of evicted from that servant's quarter. It was winter and then they had nowhere to go. And when she was putting her stuff in the rickshaw, then her mother kind of prayed or resolved that one day my children, I will live in a bungalow. My children will become officers and I will live in a bungalow. So that sankalp, I think, probably was listened by God.
just a bit about Bharat's story, how it progressed.
So Bharat, as I have told you, Bharat was born in the servant's quarter of an IAS officer, Chief Secretary Delhi's servant quarter. And they lived there when he was about 4 years, I think. Then they were evicted from that quarter. Then they had to stay in a very small barsati with his mama, and then they moved to the servant quarter of another IAS officer. And I am that IAS officer. So her mother used to work with us. So then they lived with us for about 7-8 years, and his father is peon in Sanskriti school. So fortunately that when he was in class 6, there was this opportunity given for economically weaker section children that they can join these private public schools. So he was admitted in Sanskriti school. There also he faced lot of discrimination and lot of adjustment issues, lot of language issues, because he was studying in a government school. They were conversing in Hindi, and then in Sanskriti everyone was speaking in English. All the exams were in English, all announcements were being made in English. On the first day he had a very horrible experience because he was not able to make out what is being told. So then, but although other 5-6 students who admitted from EWS quota, they dropped out, but Bharat somehow remained there with determination that I have to adjust, I have to study in this school. And then he did his schooling, then went to the Delhi Technological University, that DTU, where he studied mechanical engineering, and he got a job in Tata Motors, posted in Delhi. So that was also a very big jump. If we all see the satisfaction level from born in a servant's quarter to an engineer in Tata Motors, was in itself a very big jump for anyone. So he could have remained satisfied. His mother was happy, his father was happy, family was happy, good financial security, good job, good status. But still he thought that there is something lacking. I want to transform my family's fortunes. I want to do something for the people. I want to do something for people like me who in challenging backgrounds. So then he decided to give up his job. He resigned from Tata Motors. That was very bold decision, big step. He resigned from Tata Motors, started preparing, and his father supported him. He prepared for 3-4 years, and he suffered that lows which many feel. Many of us aspirants, there are phases when you are in acute depression. So when you think that nothing is going to happen, I made a big mistake by giving up my job, by
Is
resigning.
it because of the sheer number of people who apply? Does that?
There are many factors. Sometimes it is, of course, the competition is very stiff. The chances are 0.001%, means 150 IS officers or 160
Possibly the toughest in the world.
in out of 10 lakh who appear. So it is. But there are other things also. Sometimes the strategy is not correct. Sometimes your optional subject preparations are not up to the mark. So this happens because of the vastness of the syllabus. So he suffered those lows, and there was time when he was in depression. He thought, what am I doing with my life? I should stop, I should join a job. But then again he resolved that no, I will not join, I will do it. Then he suffered so many setbacks, but got finally the wheel turned, and he got selected in this assistant commandant in CAPF. But again there was a tragedy. He failed in the physical exam because he pulled his muscle during the long jump. Otherwise, he was almost successful.
Possibly he was destined to
He was
join
destined.
the
Then he got
administrative-
selected as assistant commandant in the Coast Guards. But Coast Guard people asked him to join, and his mains was there about a week later. So he asked for leave. He was denied leave. He left that job. He did not join Coast Guard. So again, this boy, if you see the character, so he had that will of Titan, you said.
Titanic, yeah.
Yeah, Titanic will, and he had that quality of taking those grave risks, serious risks of not joining a job when he was not even, they had very low chances of getting success in the civil services. But he decided that he will write the mains, and he sacrificed assistant commandant in Coast Guards, and finally he was selected in IAS. He scaled Mount UPSC.
And now?
Bharat is now in West Bengal cadre. He is also
Okay, so
SDM.
all of there and all parts of India.
Yeah.
Now, if you think the struggles that we just listened to through Dr. Sajjan Yadav's storytelling too high, wait till you hear about Anjali Sharma.
Yes, and I would like to add that it's one thing that if someone is born blind, then you haven't seen the world with the eyes, and you slowly get used to the life because you are not aware what are eyes, what is function, and what happens with the eyes, and what advantages are there, what colors of life are there. Anjali Sharma was perfectly fine till class 10th, say till about 16 years of age. She lived in Sikkim. Her father is worker in a factory, in small factory in Sikkim. So this girl in class 10th, she suffered from brain TB. She was not aware, but she had severe pain, and she was taken to Patna and then to AIMS Delhi. So because of the brain TB, she somehow survived. Although it was very risky, she was almost on deathbed, but the AIMS doctors pulled her out of that. But she lost her eyesight totally, 100% blind almost. She can't see anything. And it took her 1 year. She was totally submerged in darkness, totally dependent on her parents, on her younger brother for even daily chores. But this girl was very determined. Even at that stage, she was asking for books that I want to read, and then she used to cry when she was not able to see anything. But then somehow she had not passed class 10th. She was in class 10th when she lost her eyesight, but because that year it was not the board exam. So she had done well in her half yearlies and in the internal tests. So on the basis of that, she was promoted to class 11th. She took it as a very good signal from the God that yes, she must continue her studies. So after a gap of 1 year, she joined again her school, Kendriya Vidyalaya in Sikkim, did class 11th and 12th just based on whatever she used to hear in the class, or at home she used to request her father or brother to read lessons for her.
But there was a problem there also. People who were assigned to read out lessons to her, a couple of times she had complained because she could not understand.
I am coming to that. So that was class 11th and 12th. Then she did her graduation also in a very similar way. And finally, the day she was joining post graduation, she decided that no, she will not join post graduation, she will write civil services. So then she prepared based on videos and audios. So she gathered information about the exam. There was no one to guide her. Please imagine the girl living in remote Sikkim, low middle class family, no one to guide, no one in her family who was a civil servant. But she gathered all the information about the exam, she prepared for the exam, and what you are telling, on the first day of the main exam, because it is a written exam. So she was totally dependent on the scribe, and her center was Patna. She was given a scribe who was a class 11th or 12th boy, and he was not even able to read the question paper in English. So when he was not able to even read the question paper, how would he write answers? So that was a big setback for her. She failed in that mains because scribe was not able to write anything. Second attempt also something very similar happened despite all the precautions, despite the requests. So again she couldn't clear the mains. But third time she shifted her center to Delhi and she got a good scribe. So then she was able to clear the exam. But this girl is really very determined girl. She is really very hardworking. She used to just eat, sleep and study, nothing else. So and it's really difficult to come out of that darkness, that gorge, and climb the top from there. It's really so many lessons, not only for writing civil services, but for the life lessons for every one of us in any field, that if you are in that situation, don't give up. There is light, tunnel may be long, but ultimately there will be light at the end of the tunnel. So don't give up.
That was touching. Wasim Ahmed Bhatt, he is from Kashmir and his father was a beekeeper. Let's now throw some light on the route he took. How he was inspired, first of all, and then how he realized his resolve.
So first is, Wasim wanted to become an engineer. Since his childhood, he wanted to become a civil servant. Although his friends wanted to become civil servants, but he said that no, I want to become a doctor or an engineer because they are the people who actually work for on the ground. Means it inspired him that to become an engineer. And he was a brilliant child, though he hailed from a very small village in Kashmir, Anantnag district. So he was topper in the schools in his area, and then based on his JEE, he got admission in NIT Srinagar after class 12th. And he opted for civil engineering, though it didn't turn out to be a good choice for him to his liking. But then also he had a passion for reading. Even then, when he was in engineering college in initial years, he didn't want to become civil servant, but he wanted to become an engineer. But then for whatever destiny is, then there were visits of two very young Kashmiri IAS officers to his college. Shah Faisal, who was the first topper from Kashmir, and Athar Amir. So he listened to them and he got to know about the career in IAS, civil services, the challenges, the opportunities, which really inspired him to give it a shot. And so he decided that after college he will not sit for placements and he will start preparing for the civil services exam. So he came back to his village, wanted to study there, prepare from his house in Anantnag. But his father realized that he won't be able to study, do well while studying in this remote village, and his friends were going for coaching. So he sent his Wasim to Delhi for coaching. There also again it is story of success, failure and success. In his first attempt he was successful. He cleared prelims, he cleared mains, he cleared interview, and he got into the revenue service, Indian Revenue Service, income tax. But the next attempt itself, he wanted to become an IAS officer, so he wrote the prelims again, but next attempt he failed in the prelims. So again it was a shock. So many people would do what? They would just join the income tax, but he decided no, he will try, he will not give up. So second attempt he really worked with strategy, he worked on his failures, he sought guidance from the recent topper, and accordingly he prepared really well starting from the first day of his prelims. So then he got a very nice good rank, I think around 7th rank he got, and now he is in Madhya Pradesh.
Dr. Sajjan Yadav, it was 3 a.m. when I was reading the book and I had reached Shruti Sharma's chapter. I read it. Unfortunately, I was groggy-eyed. I want you to take over completely in the case of... because Lavish, I remember exactly. But Shruti, you'll have to tell us.
Right. Shruti, see, there is always a craze for to know the life of the topper. Means all of the first ranker in the batch, and he remains for entire life the topper of the batch. Even our topper, we still address him as topper, the first ranker. So I wanted to narrate story of a batch topper, and Shruti Sharma is that batch topper. So she is topper of 2022 batch. So she is very sweet, very intelligent
From
girl.
an equally humble background?
Not that much challenging, but she used to live in east of Kailash, and his father is an architect and also runs a school. So from a middle class family, the girl next door studied in Sardar Patel Vidyalaya. And so she is from Delhi, or not originally, but she lived in Delhi all along. So she is the girl who also faced this kind of dilemma, which many of us faced and many will be facing, whether to go for academics or go for civil services. So she did her graduation from St. Stephen, And then she, against her parents' will, I would say, she decided to pursue academics. She joined JNU. And initially she liked it also, and she liked the freedom also of there and the kind of environment which is there in JNU. But then somehow she felt that whatever change which can be brought, it is difficult to bring that change through writing research papers and conducting research, although that is also a very, very important thing, but it was not to her liking. So then she decided to change the path and decided to prepare for the exam, and there she joined. There are some good institutes which, like in Jamia there is an institute where you can, at a very nominal fee, you can stay in the hostel, get mess facility also, and also some kind of a coaching there in house, and good group. She formed a very good group of the fellow aspirants there. So her story is simple that way, and the coaching center was also very close to her house, but there is one twist in the story which future aspirants should also be careful about, I would say, through your show, and that is that when she filled up the form for her prelims for the civil services exam, I would say, then she filled her medium of writing the exam wrong. So she wanted to write the exam in English because she had studied in English medium, but by mistake she filled it as Hindi. So she cleared the prelims, but prelims was in normal, but for the mains she had written it wrong. So after clearing the prelims, when she was asked to write a more detailed application form, then she saw on the screen that some fields are pre-filled, and one of the pre-filled field is medium of writing the mains exam, which is Hindi, and it was not changeable, means it was fixed. So non-editable, I would say. So it was a very big shock. She tried very hard with UPSC to allow her to change the medium, but it was not allowed as per rules. So then one option was to leave the attempt, forego it, and start preparing for the next. But then she decided, no, I will not give up this attempt, I will write it. And so she appeared in Hindi medium. She used to study in English, then translate into Hindi, then study in Hindi also. So she performed well in mains, but couldn't clear the mains. So that is the lesson, that even while filling up the form, people should be very, very careful. And then in her second attempt, she could do very well, and she was not expecting to be the topper. No one expects actually, but she was not expecting because first one day before her optional paper she had COVID. And she had high fever and running nose, and COVID was tested later on. And secondly, interview, she thought that she has not done well in interview because she had to say no to many questions, that sorry sir, I don't know the answer. And after her interview, she was almost in tears that, oh, I will not be able to make it this time, or even if I am successful, I will be not in the top rank.
Possibly her honesty work.
Yeah, but yes, honesty works a lot in interview. I would like to tell people that it's very, very important that you remain honest with the board. Don't try to just answer the question or give wrong facts. If you don't know, just plain and simple say, sorry, I don't know the answer.
And obviously the judges know that you don't know that, you are too raw.
Yes.
If they ask, how will you solve this major problem? Obviously they couldn't solve it. How can a youngster solve that problem?
Yeah, and see, it is not an interview basically. We call it personality test. So they judge your personality. It is not test of knowledge. People should remember that interview or personality test is not test of knowledge in civil services. It is test of your personality. Your knowledge has been tested in the prelims. It has been tested again in the mains. So now it is your personality. You should be honest. You should be frank. You should be more analytical. So these kind of things they judge.
Your attitude.
Your attitude and way of solving problems. Your kind of honesty is really very, very important.
We approach seventh hero of our series. We are discussing the book Scaling Mount UPSC. And this is something reverse. Lavish Ordia was working in the US. I'm sure a rich guy earning well suddenly decides to take a U-turn, come back to India and serve people.
Yes.
I don't know what was his trigger.
Yes, it's a bit intriguing because Lavish was not born in a very rich family, very middle class trader family in Udaipur in Rajasthan. And first competitive exam for him was the IIT JEE. So his parents sent him to Kota for the coaching. So he was there for 2 years, and then he successfully cracked IIT exam. and then got into IIT Mumbai in mechanical engineering. So, his first aim was that I have to earn enough money so that I can repay my education loan, I can help my parents build a house, I can buy some like car or scooter for them so that they are comfortable. So, in the final year of his graduation, when it was time for placements, he resolved that I will join the company who pays the highest salary package, and fortunately for him he got into Shell, selected him, and he joined Bangalore office of Shell. And then he was very soon, because he was very talented and hard working guy, he was offered an assignment in the United States, which he grabbed readily, and he was there for Houston, yeah. So, he was there for 3 years and he was comfortable, as you say. As you said, he had a good salary package, he had all the comforts, like he was traveling in business class, he had a credit card of the company to spend money. So, he was given a very luxury car by the company, he had a furnished flat, but somehow he felt some kind of a vacuum inside him. So, he started feeling that whatever I have achieved, there is nothing more to achieve in the present kind of assignment. This salary which is now coming is of no use to me much, it is just a figure in my bank account. So, last time it was this many dollars or rupees, next month it is this much, and whatever my seniors are doing who are 20 years senior to me, they are also doing very similar kind of work, which he found to be monotonous. So, this was probably the trigger, otherwise he was very comfortable. There was no need for him to come back, no need for him to go through this grueling journey of scaling Mount UPSC.
Possibly the problem of plenty.
Problem of, no, I would not agree with that. Possibly the problem of job satisfaction. See, because you are doing a particular kind of work, repetitively same work, and when you see the people 20 years your senior are also doing the similar work, they have also very similar pay. So, nothing to look forward to.
In terms of growth, maybe
Internal
internal
growth and the job satisfaction. The kind of job satisfaction which comes with civil services, that is immense. The kind of variety which comes is unparalleled, especially in the IAS when you talk about variety, because your job is changes every 2 years or even more frequently. One day you are in health sector, next day you are in education, third day you are in power, electricity, supplying electricity, fourth day PWD, fifth day social justice or social welfare. So, the kind of variety which is there, and second the kind of opportunities which you have to work for people, they are immense. You have the entire system with you to work. If you really want to work, then the entire system is there with you. You have money, you have people, and you are the decision maker many times. So, at the initial levels, like when you are sub-divisional magistrate or deputy commissioner or commissioner, you can work in your area, that itself is a big canvas, but once you go to the state as secretary or to the center, then you have that you can implement so many of your ideas, you can put them into policies, and you can get that kind of satisfaction of bringing about a change in lives of people.
But changing canvases so often, I mean, does it not, deny you the opportunity of being a specialist of something?
Yeah, that debate is always there, specialist versus journalist, but I take it that way. Basic tenets of management or basic principles of management remain the same, they do not change. When I change job, within 1 week I get used to the new system. What do you need at the higher levels? Leadership, motivate your teams, because it is a teamwork. You are not doing anything, your team is doing anything. Vision in that way, where you want to take the department or take that work forward. So, the basics remain the same, they do not change with change of department, but the opportunities to bring about change in lives of people, those opportunities they multiply in different assignments.
As I salute our 7 heroes, it also brings to my mind the LCM, all these 7 stories, each one of them has been exposed to something that is discussed very often at home, coaching. The question that comes to mind is, have there been people who have cleared these obstacles even without coaching? Are there instances?
Yes, that I would like to clarify that first thing is that coaching is not at all essential for clearing civil services exam. So, out of these 7 people, 4 people cleared it without coaching. So, only 3 of them went to a coaching institute. And secondly, in the coaching institute also the frequent complaint is that there is lot of wastage of time. Even those who attended coaching classes, finally they decided to attend very few coaching classes, although they paid for the package. So, nowadays there is enough material available online, there is enough guidance available, but there is problem of plenty also. So, you have to be very selective in terms of your syllabus, means you have to be very careful in selection of the reading material, and also do not listen to everyone who comes to you for guidance or advice. So, if you can find out good material in the online space and a good mentor who can be around you or who can be online or who can be through online lectures, not one-to-one interaction. So, coaching is not essential, you have enough resources available, enough guidance available which can help you. As you have seen Anjali Sharma, she had no coaching, she just based on her YouTube lectures, YouTube material, she prepared for the exam and was successful. Bharat also did not take coaching, Bharat did it without coaching. So, there are many aspirants, I also did without coaching.
Great.
I come from a small village in Haryana, so there was no coaching facility available and neither resources were available. So, I
was about to ask you this question. I mean, I was looking for the exact trigger after vaccines when you started thinking about a new book. I am tempted to believe this is a reflection of your own
yes.
inner and outer journey as you progress towards clearing the civil services, especially with your father being in the army. Did it make a difference in terms of daily discipline or academic discipline? Or
Yeah, of course, you learn from your parents, you learn imbibe the values from your parents, and army gives that kind of environment of becoming more disciplined and kind of pursue your goals. So, in terms of trigger, I would come back to that question, what triggered after that book? Of course, honestly the trigger was Bharat Singh.
oh,
Because when in 2023 I started writing this book, Bharat Singh is 21 batch. Their batch was doing assistant secretaryship here, and I met Bharat here after many years. So, then I was meeting him one to one as officer, I was really moved by his progress, and I thought that I must tell his story and story of similar others to the budding aspirants that yes, it is doable. Those who are especially from challenging backgrounds, from very humble backgrounds, they should get inspired by these stories and pursue their dream.
if you remember a certain boy called Sajjan Yadav who was preparing for the civil services,
Ji.
if you do a rough comparison between those times and the kind of rigors and pressures that people have to undergo today, do you see a vast marked difference?
Of course, there is a lot of difference between those times and the times now. So, the first is that in terms of number of aspirants I would start with, that those time it used to be about 2.5 lakh people appearing every year, now they have multiplied to 10 lakh, 1 million people appearing. Then there is a lot of change in the examination pattern. In our times there used to be 2 optional subjects which we had to write exams for. Now, there is only 1 optional subject. Earlier we had to write only 1 essay, now there are 2 essays in the exam. A new paper has been introduced which is ethics paper, which was not there in our times, and more than that, in the preliminary stage we used to have 1 optional subject and 1 general studies. Now, it is general studies and 1 CSAT, which is civil service aptitude test, which is only qualifying and common for everyone. So, you have to prepare for that too. So, there is a lot of change, and another big change is in terms of availability of information. We used to be very focused because the sources of getting information or books or reading material was very limited. So, when I cleared my prelims, I asked one of my seniors who had appeared earlier, he said, go to JNU, there is a book stall and get all the books from there. So, I just came to Delhi, went to that place, and I just told him these two are my optionals and I have cleared prelims. So he gave me a bag full of books. I didn't ask any question which book, what book, and I carried that bag with me and prepared from that. But now there is plethora of information, there is abundance of information. So that is a challenge as well, because they have to select the right kind of information.
As we approach the concluding part of our program, let me tell your readers, the book's readers, that chapter 8 onwards, including the epilogue, the appendix, and whatever you have done after that, that too, if these 7 stories motivate you, these 4 parts actually tell you how to go about it. A certain sentence that can be often heard in interviews, in group discussions, I want to serve the nation. Now, tell me, is IAS the only way of serving the nation?
No.
I mean, you can be a politician, you can join an NGO.
Yes.
You can just
Yes,
serve.
of course. Yes, of course.
So why do people have this? Is it advisable to say?
I would say it is both. See, first is you want to serve your family and yourself, because when we start preparing, you can say in the interview, I want to serve the nation, but first is to have a good job which has a high level of job satisfaction and status, and also improve the status or recognition of your family. I think that is a very big motivator, whatever you say. For us also it was a big motivator. Second, of course, the opportunities to serve people, to serve the country. But of course, there are other jobs or other careers as well, like I come from a army background. So, army officers or army jawans, they are serving the nation. So, in that tough conditions, or even other fields, even a farmer is serving the nation. So, the motivation has different sources. Some people are motivated to join an NGO and do social work, that is their thinking. But first you serve your family and yourself, get a secure job, and then of course you have opportunities to work for the people, and kind of opportunities which you get in this service, they are unparalleled. No other service provide that kind of opportunity to bring change in the lives of people.
Dr. Sajjan Yadav, it's time for me to open my snow tent. I think I've managed to reach Everest with the words that I and many of us here, given a chance, would like to appear once again.
Oh, wonderful.
Take another attempt.
Then you have chapter 8 in the book, where I have the strategies to crack the exam. Thank you.
Thank you very much for coming to our studios. It was a very, very stimulating discussion, and I'm sure our listeners and audiences agree with me. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Manoj.
You heard an interview with Dr. Sajjan Yadav, author of the recently released book Scaling Mount UPSC. In conversation with him was Manoj Mainkar. This broadcast came to you from the Delhi station of Akashvani.
सुरीला सा एक सफर है FM गोल्ड
सुरीली सी एक डगर